Your story also wasn't cited in the Times' investigation, as well as other large publications like New York Magazine. What do you think about that?
Look, we've gotten a good deal of recognition for breaking this story back in September from media all across this country. The Washington Post actually published stories about what you just asked, and I think we deserve credit. We're not the only ones. The Daily Beast put out some very good articles on Santos well before the election, and I don't see a lot of credit there either. But we should get credit.
And I guess to that note, what do you think that this says about the importance and the state of local journalism?
Look, you know, we're a 77-year-old local newspaper. We are and have been embedded in our community on the North Shore, the Gold Coast of Long Island. We hear things before any national media organ is ever going to hear things about things going on in our area. So it's vitally important. And we're not the only ones. There are community newspapers all across this country, and really they're the closest ones to the news sources. So look, local news is the most important news you're going to get because that is the closest to the truth. And it is also a reflection on the resources both locally but also in major media and in daily newspapers and many of the broadcast channels that they don't put the same resources into interfacing with local news that they used to. And maybe that's something that needs another look.
What lessons do you think people can learn from this?
Look, pay attention to what's going on. Pay attention to what local newspapers are reporting, and it's also a lesson to other local papers. Don't be afraid to take that hard stand. I mean, when we took that stand and exposed George Santos, I mean, we heard from a number of Republicans who said, "Don't do that. Why are you doing that? Just ignore it." And that's not what we're here for. We're here to tell the truth and to shine a light on what's happening and to tell it truthfully.
How did you respond to those Republicans who said, hey, I think you should ignore this?
Well, I responded by saying, "We're here. We're a newspaper. We're here to tell the truth, and this is good for everyone. It is not good for anyone, Republican or Democrat, to have a fraud running for office and a fraud elected to office." And I think we've been proven true. The very fact that there's been a press conference with 30 local Republicans demanding his resignation proves that out.
Santos did win pretty handily against the Democrat Robert Zimmerman by a 54-46 margin. Had this gotten that national attention that it has now, and I know hindsight is 2020, do you think the outcome would have been different?
I think the outcome would have been different had voters really known what a fraud and what a sociopath George Santos is. But let me say, even our coverage locally did make a strong impact. Lee Zeldin won this district by 3 to 4 points more than George Santos won by. So people definitely were paying attention and they knew there was something wrong with him. But these districts are big and we actually don't cover. Our footprint is not the entire district. So had more people known, I don't think he would have won.
What do you think about George Santos's response to this story, saying, yeah, I did pad my resume?
Look, this is not embellishing a resume. This is lying fundamentally about everything about who he is. Look, he's a wanted criminal in Brazil, wanted petty criminal. He committed elder fraud and check forgery in Brazil. He's a very different person than he presented himself to be. Completely different person. He claims he was attended New York University, graduate studies, and graduated from Baruch College. He's not even a high school graduate. He was a high school dropout. He's a petty criminal, a high school dropout. He never worked for any of the financial institutions he claimed to. And probably the most disgusting, and I think County Executive Bruce Blakeman of Nassau County said it today, it was disgusting, is that George Santos invented a Jewish heritage so that he could go into synagogues and to Jewish voters and literally say that his family had escaped the Holocaust and were victims of the Holocaust. And he would sit there in synagogues with tears running down his face, talking about how his family, this invented family, had survived the Holocaust. And he's talking to people whose relatives, whose parents or grandparents had been murdered in the Holocaust. I mean, it's ghastly that he could be that deranged and that vile to stand in front of Holocaust survivors and say that his family were themselves Holocaust survivors when they weren't even Jewish, when they weren't had nothing to do with the Holocaust, were never around it. They were Catholics in Brazil. So I mean, it's grotesque.
The lies really that have been uncovered are stunning. You say he's grotesque, petty criminal, sociopath. How do you think he's been able to fool everyone for this long?
Well, again, this was a very short period of time that he was taken seriously, and so he really didn't have to fool people for that long. He only had to fool people for a couple of months. And really, once we published the story, I mean, a lot of people who caught on, and I heard a lot of people come back to me and say, you hit the nail on the head. That's who this guy is. But there's not much we can do at this point. He's the nominee. He's on the ballot, and look, I spoke to many times to Robert Zimmerman, who was his Democratic opponent, and he was well aware of this fraud. And he tried, to his credit, to put this story out there to a lot of the daily newspapers in our area, and for different reasons, they didn't bite.
Well, we will definitely be keeping our eye on this story, and thank you so much for breaking it.